regular meeting of the Madison County Board of Education for Thursday, September 27th is now in session. Mr. Curry, would you be good enough to lead us in prayer?
Yes, ma'am. Let's bow our heads, please. Dear Lord, thank you for this evening. Thank you for the ability to be here and be in this presence. Lord, we ask that you bless us to make wise decisions for our students and for our teachers and faculty. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Thank you.
All right, we'll start with an update. Good evening, everyone. Today was an exciting day. We actually had Principally Speaking, and that is a foundation that is to support, initially designed to support 3 school systems in Madison County. The Schools Foundation supported that, but the Principally Speaking now is encompassing more than 20 districts. Principals from all over the Tennessee Valley came, and today Dr. Mackey shared kind of his vision and roadmap and for Alabama, and it was very good to hear a clear visionary message about his plan. He kind of he compared it to what I thought was a good comparison to I-65, the work that's going on right now that makes it quite slow, that almost, like 80% of Alabamians live within 30 or 40 miles of I-65, and they're going through some widening projects. It's going to take a little bit of time, and he kind of sees that right now. Alabama's got to go through some widening projects in its education, but he's going to see that through, and he wants to also see through the successes that are going to be coming our way when we do that. So it was good to hear. Some big rocks in front of us with assessments. We're going to transition, or purgatory, as he stated it, with a new student assessment coming on board, and some other big things that we've got going. So it was good for principals to get together at Campus 805 in their cafeteria there at Stone Middle School to kind of hear that. So that was a good meeting there. We'll start off by recommending approval of the agenda for September 27th, 2018.
Motion?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? If not, we'll vote. All those in favor of approving the agenda, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? All in favor.
All right, I recommend approval of the minutes for August the 2nd, 8th, 15th, and 28th.
Second?
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes. Is there any discussion? If not, we'll vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, all in favor.
All right, we have, as an informational item, Mr. Kubik is going to share a little bit. We're going to be asking to adjust page 17 of the salary schedule to meet some compliance guidelines.
Good evening, board members. I handed out to you a sheet of page 17, and I've highlighted the numbers we're referencing to, and it's number 2 on both the activity trip, overnight activity trip, and also the local activity trip not overnight. It has been brought to our attention that we need to go into compliance with what the state says. What has happened is it's been brought to our attention that when our bus drivers are not fulfilling their afternoon routes, the way that we've been handling as far as them doing activity routes and docking their day, an hour's pay of an activity pay in order for them to fulfill the activity run. When we found out that it's been brought to our attention that this was an issue, and Ms. O'Bannon was kind enough to contact the state of Alabama, and they said when a bus driver does not complete their full afternoon route or morning route, they are to be docked a half day's pay, not just an hour's day pay. So in order to be in compliance, we have to go ahead and change this so that it basically will say that no afternoon route reimbursement will be given to a bus driver if they do not complete the full route for that day. Okay, so that means if they have to miss it in order to take the football team to Florence or something like that, then they have to be docked that half day because they did not work those 2 hours of that afternoon. So in order to be in compliance, we're going to have to change this policy from 1 hour to a half day's pay. They will be entitled to the activity run pay, but they will not be able to get that extra hour of pay that we've currently been using as our policy. And again, this was brought to our attention, and we're trying to address the situation since it was brought to our attention. Do you have any questions?
So currently, if they missed say, an evening after-school route, they would be docked an hour.
Correct.
And then they would have the hours that if they had an activity after school, like a field trip or maybe a football game, they would make those hours up on an hourly basis, correct?
The way it works now is if they were to miss the afternoon route completely, okay, they're docked 1 hour of activity route pay, which is like $9.70 an hour.
Okay.
Okay, and then they were entitled to the 3.5 hours minimum of an activity run. Okay, so they would get 3.5 times the $9.70. All right, but when this has been brought to our attention and we had to address it since it was brought to our attention as a complaint format, what we found out is that they were supposed to be docked in actual half-days pay because they did not fulfill the afternoon routes. And that's state money that we're reimbursed for the bus drivers' pay. Is that correct, Ms. O'Bannon? Okay. So most of our bus drivers make about $80 a day. So they're going to miss $40 of pay.
Is this going to be a problem? Because are they still going to want to do the activities?
We believe this is going to become a big problem. What we are hoping, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. McCord, is that what's going to happen is a lot of our high school drivers who have been doing activity runs, it's going to kind of fall back on our elementary bus drivers are going to be coming up and doing activity runs because they'll be done in time to go ahead and handle this. We really do not know how this is going to play out. But again, this was brought to us in a complaint format, and so we had to follow up and address it. And when contacting the state, they had said that, yes, if they're not fulfilling the full day's pay, they need to be docked accordingly. Because, I mean, if you just figure out simple math, if you're making $80 a day and you lose half of that's 40, and you're not making 40 back by doing 3.5, right, you're gonna work longer and you're gonna make less money.
But that is fair, though. I mean, what was happening is you're getting paid more at an hourly rate to drive an regular afternoon route than activity rate. So if there is trouble here, we may need to adjust the activity rate, but again, that's something that we don't pay as a system. That's something the local school pays, so it's, we're gonna monitor it, but we'll have to keep a close eye on it to see how that.
So a high school bus driver that doesn't do his or her afternoon run, but does a 6 or 7 hour run for a football game down to Gadsden or to Florence or something like that, I mean, they're being paid for that 6 to 6.5 hour run.
Yes, sir, that's correct. They get paid the actual time, but it's a minimum. Like, let's just say that they were running it was a volleyball game, and it was just running from Hazel Green High over to Buckhorn. And it was only gonna, they were gone a total of 2 hours, let's just say. They get a minimum of 3.5 for that time period. If it's greater than 3.5, they do get paid whatever that total time is. So yes, if it's a 6 hour, then it was 6 times $9.70 an
But
hour.
they're docked 1 hour of activity
Right now.
and paid their afternoon route. Yeah, and that's according to our policy that we have, right?
Then now it will be a half-day.
Correct.
Correct.
And is the $9.70 set by the state, or is that our figure?
That's your figure.
That's our figure, Madison County's board. Yeah, if you just do the math, it's not advantageous to the bus drivers. However, this was brought to us by bus drivers.
Ken,
So-
we talked about making this a $10 an hour thing. Are we talking about doing that now or at the next salary schedule?
Well, we talked about doing that at the next salary schedule and maybe bumping this up to a $10 an hour flat rate per hour instead of the $9.70, just to that would make it more of a balance, it would be closer. So that was one of the things that we had talked about, yes. Yes, sir.
If the board wanted to do that now, they could do that.
Yes, sir. That would be, it's their salary schedule, and we could definitely do that if that was something the board chose to do and you recommended it.
So right now, the high school people are doing this. Are the elementary people wanting to do that? I mean, you're saying like they could.
From what I understand, and you correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. McCord, I believe there are elementary teachers willing to do activity runs. Bus drivers, I'm sorry. But the bus drivers at the high schools and middle schools typically are taking care of their own building. But yes, the feeders there are some, correct.
So we kind of need to see how it plays out before we raise the rates, I guess.
Well, this was not increased, so, if that's something you want to consider as a board, that's perfectly fine. I don't think the bus drivers would complain about that. However, but you're right, we do not know until we put it in place how the outcome is going to be. We believe it's not going to be favorable, but if you look at the other side, we have a whole lot more elementary schools, so we may have a lot more drivers, and this may not be an issue. We do not know yet.
Yeah, and the rate would really be more for just simplicity of just knowing it's $10 an hour instead of $9.70 off of there. I'm not sure where the $9.70 number ever came from, but, you know, it's, and the system is typically not paying that. It's a local school paying that.
So on the overnight thing, they would still, it's, you know, it still gives that 1 hour, so will that be a half-day?
Correct.
They miss-
Wherever you see number 2 in the highlighted bar that I have, that's the piece that's going to have to be changed. It's kind of, it really doesn't matter whether it's an overnight or it's a, just a local activity. If they miss that afternoon route, and the same thing can happen if they miss a morning route because it's a field trip leaving for, I mean, we don't know, that's not as prevalent as the afternoon routes for, you know, especially when you start talking about when there's like 4 basketball games or 4, you know, baseball, softball, where they're out for a lot longer period of time playing doubleheaders and such. But, you know, we believe the football is probably going to be handled, you know, it should be okay because they tend to play later in the evening. But this is something that we, you know, we've kind of been forced into handling.
There's no retroactive, just, I mean, they're not talking about doing anything retroactively. Okay. Yeah, the one that's making us do this, yeah.
The complaint came internally. The
Right,
complaint
but
did.
now we have to do it because of an
Yeah, we checked on the state and they confirmed that, yeah, we need to be compliant.
So is it based on an 8-hour day, or it's just it's a flat rate per, if they run the morning and the afternoon, it's a flat?
The-
4-hour daily rate, a daily rate based on 4 hours. So
Okay, okay.
if they work 2 hours, they're paid that daily rate. If they work 3 hours, they're paid that daily rate. If they put 4 hours, it's the same. Now, if they work 5 hours, they're paid that daily rate plus on the salary schedule, that hourly rate. Well, then less hourly, but you divide that by 4 to get the hourly rate. So they're paid anywhere from, you know, 18 to, you know, $22 an hour, $23 an hour, depending on their step. That's the gap pay. That would, it's not overtime because it's not over 40 hours, but it would be the,
When did y'all find out, when did this complaint come in to the central office?
It actually came in last spring. Was that correct, Dr. Minsky? Wasn't it last spring? It was brought to us by the UNICEF director.
Okay.
Any other questions for Ken? Thank you.
Thank you.
Got
Thank
it?
you.
Did you have another question?
No, that's it.
He's all dressed up, so if you want to ask him, go ahead. All right, at this time, Lisa Novak is here to address the board. And Lisa, I know you've done this before, but let me just go over the requirements while you're coming to the podium. All comments will be limited to 5 minutes so that everyone who wishes to address the board will be given an equal opportunity. In the event you wish to address the board on an issue involving the general reputation and character, physical condition, professional competence, mental health, or in some instances, job performance of an individual, the board will hear your comments in executive session. If you are unsure whether your comments should be made in executive session, you can see our board attorney, Cynthia Thompson.
Thank you, ma'am. I think I'm safe
Probably
for,
could repeat that yourself, so,
I think I'm safe for this. It's 5 minutes, right? Okay,
yes, 5 minutes.
all right. All right. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Superintendent Massey and school board representatives, for the opportunity to speak with you this evening. Many of you already know me, but for those of you who don't, my name is Lisa Novak. I am the proud parent of 4 boys, 3 of which attend Endeavor Elementary, and I have the honor of serving as PTA president at Endeavor this year. I'm here tonight as co-chair of an exciting new group who has big plans for the Sparkman Area School this year. I am proud to announce the formation of Sparkman Family Schools. Sparkman Family Schools consists of all 8 PTOs and PTAs in the Sparkman feeder system: Endeavor, Harvest, Legacy, Madison Crossroads, and Monrovia Elementaries, Monrovia and Sparkman Middle, and Sparkman High Schools. The purpose of Sparkman Family Schools is to bring the Harlem Wizards to the Sparkman cluster on Saturday, February 10th, 2019. The Wizards' amazing basketball talent, combined with hilarious comedy, athleticism, tricks, and ball handling wizardry, is very similar to the Harlem Globetrotters. However, the big difference between the two is that the Wizards give back to our community. The Harlem Wizards started back in 1962 and last season alone raised over $2 million for over 400 communities across the U.S. The Sparkman Family Schools is now part of their winning team, and we're looking forward to watching it bring in additional funds for all 8 schools while bringing our Sparkman community back together. It's no secret the past few years have been rough on the Sparkman cluster. Sadly, the rallying motto, "We are Sparkman," is no longer recognized by all as what it should be, a unifying phrase. The Sparkman Family Schools Group aims to change that with this event. We have mapped out 2 goals that will help guide us to achieving what we've set out to do by bringing the Wizards to Sparkman. Our number 1 goal is to host a unifying community event that will be fun for all ages. We want all of those in attendance to leave chanting, "We are one Sparkman, we are one family." Our second goal for this event is to act as a fundraiser for each participating school in the cluster. All 8 PTAs and PTOs have bought in equally and have pledged to have 1 or more members actively involved in the group. In return, all 8 will split the profits from the event equally. All 8 schools will also provide 3 teachers, administrators, or staff members to play against the Wizards as the Senators. The students are going to have a great time cheering on their favorite teachers and principals playing together. Now that you know more about what Sparkman Family Schools is and the Wizards event, we'd like to invite you to join us in making this event a huge success. Our next meeting will be on Tuesday, October 23rd at 6 p.m. at Legacy Elementary. We'd like to invite you to attend. We're also inviting our wonderful Sparkman principals within the feeder system to attend the meeting as well, so you all can see firsthand what we've got planned and how you can help. We're also actively looking for corporate and business sponsors to help offset the costs associated with the event. I'm pleased to announce this evening Redstone Federal Credit Union, Crestwood Hospital, and Penta Research as our first 3 sponsors for a total of $3,500 already brought in for this event. We have room for more. Our comprehensive package ranges from $150 all the way up to $5,000. Never hurts to ask, so if anyone knows of someone who'd like to help the over 7,600 students at the Sparkman family, please send them our way and we'll be more than happy to chat with them. Tickets will go on sale November 1st. General admission is $10 for pre-sale, reserved is $25, and a spectacular courtside plus package is $50. There's a limit on that number. It's 50 tickets can be sold. We do expect them to go fast, so if anyone can say Christmas stocking stuffer, those are perfect. We will be running a ticket sales contest between the 1st and the 10th of November. Anyone who purchases tickets online during that time frame will be entered into a drawing to win a Slamtastic gift pack filled to the brim with Harlem Wizards gear. We've purchased 1 gift pack for each elementary and middle school, and for the PTAs and PTOs, we'll draw 7 winners. 1 will win from each school. The high school opted out of that one. They didn't think their students would be as interested. The students will also be treated to the Wizards coming to each school before the event for a 20-minute kickoff assembly, where they'll get a taste of what's to come on February 10th. In closing, on behalf of the members of Sparkman Family Schools, I'd like to thank you in advance for your support. In the short amount of time that we've been working together on this project, we have learned a great deal from each other by utilizing our individual strengths and diversities to accomplish our goals for this event. We are one Sparkman, we are one family. Thank you.
Thank you. Sounds wonderful.
Hey, Lisa, I'm sorry, can you tell me the date of that meeting again, the 23rd?
23rd at 6.
23rd at 6?
23rd at 6 at Legacy. Yes. We didn't know that when we scheduled it. We can
Scratch
have
that
y'all
off.
out another time. Yeah.
Thank you. Sounds like it will serve many purposes.
So we'll have teachers and administrators versus the Wizards.
So
So-
Mr. Shaw is he starting as the what? Point guard?
We don't know yet. We're also going to possibly have cheerleader assist.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Pick their own coach, and it's going to be exciting.
I saw Mr. Evans get his calculator out to calculate the insurance costs for injuries. Every year we
So we'll
get,
have that workman's comp thing.
every year we get teachers that get hurt at the student faculty basketball games, but it's still a lot of fun and well worth the investment for our insurance there, Mr. Evans. So, yeah, thanks for that. All right, we'll start with administrative actions. Unless anybody else had any other comments? All right, I recommend approval of the financial statement or payment of bills and cash reports for August of 2018.
Motion.
We have a motion and a second to approve the financial statement and the payments of bills. Any discussion? If not, we'll vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, all in favor? Just
No,
one.
did you need to, were y'all as a team? Okay.
I'm sorry, I just had Lisa down, but
I
did
know,
you want to
I
talk?
think so, 'cause you're next.
Okay, sorry.
Ms. Rucker was thinking somebody else might be here to speak, but I don't think we
Oh.
had anybody else.
We put on the agenda the same lady from the last time.
But that's,
That's wrong.
oh,
Okay, all right. So we're good on A, we're going to B. Recommend approval of the
Well,
change,
did we, yeah, we voted. Go ahead,
or
sorry.
zero, I think.
Yes.
Recommend approval of the change order for Sparkman High School lunchroom as attached.
Motion.
second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Carrie, want to kind of update us?
Yes, ma'am. This was a change out when we had to hang the extra additional steel. We put that air conditioning unit in the lunchroom at Sparkman High School. And the main thing is it works great. It's good.
Okay. All right, any other? If not, we'll vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 All in favor.
All right, I recommend the board award the bid for the New Market School addition and renovations to Dunlap Contracting for a cost of $2.487 million.
Motion.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
I didn't see the materials on that. Where was it? I mean, is there anything to look at?
Carrie, the bid is not in the folder. Did we email that out?
It is, well,
I got the
Well,
recommendation.
it's not in item C on that folder. I'm
No.
sorry. Where is it? Is it under the bids?
Under B.
You've got tabulation of bids.
It wasn't when I looked earlier.
Hold on.
Oh, I see it now, okay.
Yeah, I see it.
Well, no,
No, that's
it's
all
just,
about
it's just a recommendation. Do you have any information about the?
see the
Yeah.
bid tab sheet, is the bid tab sheet with
it's
you?
all
is.
Endeavor
It's in
Elementary's
the-
playground, last time I looked.
That's the next one.
Let's see.
I'll pull, it comes up under C under mine.
No.
I wonder if it got someone with the folder access, scooted it out of the folder a few minutes, accidentally if they double clicked it or something there. Carrie, if you got that on yours, if you can just,
Send it, yeah.
yeah, share that to us real quick. If not, we'll call a quick break and we'll go print it off. Yeah, we've got a hard copy of it in the scrolling.
Did you find it, Carrie?
But y'all don't have the,
We've just
Scrolling
got the
agenda.
hard copy.
I'm about to get it about two, well, you're printing it?
there's one copy they can share here. We'll, yes. Yeah, we'll discuss that. Has there been a motion in a second? Yeah.
There has been, we just they haven't seen it, so they're not willing to vote.
Carrie is still not in there yet.
Okay, it looks like it's over
200.
It was
250,
7,000?
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I know he sent something last week in an email.
Yes, it is.
You did, you sent that.
I don't have it in that folder. You want me to check my email here?
So I just now got an email.
But I think Carrie sent it in an email
He did.
last week, maybe?
Mhm.
And then I just resent it as a shared document.
That just came in.
Kerry, do you see this being a regular occurrence, these costs, overages on these other projects?
I wish I could tell you yes or no either way. I did talk to a couple other engineers and architecture firms, just kind of get their feel on how this came in. And it's funny because all four of them basically gave the same answer. They said, you're lucky. That was their only answer because things are still going up at such a rate, it's hard to track it. This job is a little bit different in the sense of it was a connecting corridor, connecting 4 buildings, we're doing some remodeling. The other projects are more of a freestanding addition, so we should have a little bit better fixed price on the freestanding versus this remodel. I still stand by pretty close to what our numbers are today, you know, unless we see something really, really change a lot.
What drove the cost increase?
We called them a little bit on there's just a tiny bit of steel in it, but a little bit of steel work, and also the electrical price was very high. And so called the electrical company, electrical contractor. He just says that's what it is, and what he's telling me is that's what it is because I'm the only guy bidding because everybody else is busy.
Yes, steel's going to be an issue. Steel's going up in price.
Yeah, and everything's just going that high, and so like the contractor, he's paying 10, 20, 30% more to some of his employees than he did over a year ago just to keep them. And he's got all the work, everybody's got all the work they can just about handle as it is. We only had 2 bidders on this project, and you saw as you look at that price there, you see the second price?
Well, that's what I was about to ask. So the difference between the first and the second is about $860,000. Is this bid that's awarded, are they underbidding? Is there potential that this is not going to be the proper number?
They're a great company. They've done work for us. They do a lot of work in North Alabama. Luckily for us, they had a job they need to fill. In case of the other bidder, we had 5 bidders show up to the pre-bid, and only 2 actually bidded it. And the other bidder on there had several projects that were bidding the next week. So everybody just got a whole lot of work. But this
So typically what may happen in trying to recruit bidders to participate, so this one particular group had 2 to 3 bids they were bidding on next week. So the one this week, they felt like they could shoot out a really high number and see if they could get it. If they didn't, their bids next week on those jobs will be more competitive. So it's really odd. I mean, if we'd bid this out 2 weeks later, you know, if that same group hadn't gotten those bids next week and we had bid it out the week after that, then that bid's coming in lower. And with the market of so much going on, whether it's on the Arsenal and everywhere else, it depends on if you hit somebody coming off of a job looking for work, or if they've got some more work lined up the next week, they're going to jack that price up. And that's why you just want a wide variety of folks coming in and bidding. And this job, as Kerry kind of talked about before in the presentation, it was kind of an in-betweener. You have companies that do jobs that are kind of less than $2 million and companies that do jobs that are generally more than 3 to 2.5 and more. And so this was kind of an intermittent thing there. So you had wide variety of companies, some that generally bid on lower ends and some that bid on larger ends. And so if a company's in a position to throw out an extremely high outrageous bid to see if they'll get a job, they may do that. So we feel good about the price that we got for it. Even though it did come in a little bit over, the New Market job is so complicated, more so than our other projects on our capital plan, where it's the 8 classrooms at New Hope, there's no space there, there's 8 classrooms. This, we're connecting 5 different buildings with different roof level heights, with all kind of electrical things going on in it. And there was so many variables in it that it made the bid, I think, a little more volatile or have some more variance than what some of our other projects will coming up. So like the cafeteria at Lynn Fanning, it's flat out there. So, I mean, we'll get a pretty consistent bid on that. That said, this was about 8 to 10% higher than what we had put on the capital plan, but I still feel like this puts us in a good position moving forward. I don't think that's going to typically happen with all of these other bids coming up.
I don't have the capital plan in front of me, but what's the next project that we're going to get a bid on?
The next project will be the central dining room and the Sparkman Middle School project. They'll come in within about a week of each other.
And that's what, next month or this month?
November, it'd be probably the November 7th, November 10th timeframe. trying to hit it a couple days before the November 15th board.
And is this a firm fixed price? I mean, what kind of bid?
Yes, as you notice, if you look in the front, the first half, you'll see all those allowances. We have a firm fixed price on what we believe to be all the work. Those allowances you see there, and my copy's blurred up a little bit. But we have about 10 allowances, and what that does, that covers, if we get into, as Mary Louise loves to talk about, unsuitable soils. But we do have some,
Bad dirt's what I call
bad
it.
dirt. But we have a few other things. We're sealing the brick on the existing building. After 6 or 7 years, it gets a little bit porous. And, but we just want to make sure we have some allowances covered. We have a value already in the project to cover all that work. But I believe we're not going to see any large change item or anything come through on this project. I don't know where it would come at. I don't think we're going to add any cost to this project.
Are all of our contracts that we do firm fixed price?
Yes, sir.
So are you talking about these things right here?
Right, it's stuff like if for some reason we find that we have an area that we need to dig up an additional line or pipe or something, we have to replace with concrete, you'll notice on there's an allowance, I can't read my version, but one of them says per cubic yard, and it might be $90 or $100 per cubic yard, and that's how much a yard of concrete costs installed, if we run across an area that we don't have covered in the project.
So because of the allowance, it actually could come in lower than this.
Right.
So it's already budgeting different allowances for things that may go.
That's a great point. The reason we do allowances, and I'm going to use something simple as concrete, if we get into the project and we have some concrete sidewalks been put in for temporary movement of children during construction, if we find that we don't need it for some reason, we would delete 100 square feet or whatever, concrete or 4 cubic yards, and I can look on here at this allowance and I've got a price of what my credit is, versus asking them during the construction phase to give me a credit, because then you get about 25 cents on the dollar. They don't know these numbers, these allowances, they don't know which way I'm going to go. Am I going to add it to the job or take it away from the job? So they're good, solid numbers. So we hope that we're taking a little bit of work. As we get into construction and start working it, we always look for a way to increase the speed or decrease a little bit of the work that has to be taking place without impacting the project value and get some money back on it.
You know, we talked about trying to keep everything within what we approved. Newmarket is a little bit different project, I would say, and in my opinion, they probably have the greatest need of any school in our district. So I'm sorry that this has come in over, but y'all met with them Monday night. Are they happy with the plan going forward?
They are, and we talked about this, kind of the comprehensive piece, because this is not all that we're doing there. You know, we're in the progress of the roof replacement there, and that's, we were able to get insurance to cover that, which it covered about 90% or so of the cost, and some of the other flooring replacements. So it was, we had a good meeting.
Good. Well, Angie said it was a good meeting.
I would say the first projects have the definite advantage, and the last projects have the definite disadvantage. So at some point, these increases or overruns aren't going to be good.
Yeah, and just as a, you know, with the Hazel Green projects that we did, one came over, one came under, and so we don't expect every one of them to hit on the nose, but we definitely want to come under more than over. So that's going to be something that we're monitoring and to be able to adjust. So.
Have any more discussion? If not, we'll vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All in favor.
All right, I recommend the approval of the following bids as attached.
Motion.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the bids. Any discussion?
This is only Endeavor, is this one?
Endeavor Playground.
Yeah.
The playground.
Endeavor Playground. Any discussion? If not, we'll vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 All in favor.
All right, I recommend approval of the revision for Madison County Board of Education Policy 3.14 for affiliated organizations. Our parent group policy.
Motion?
Second.
We have a motion and a second for this policy to, for your parent, the affiliated organizations, mostly PTA and PTO, I think, are the changes, basically, right?
Lita?
It's
Yes, is that correct?
basically PTA, PTO. But like our booster clubs are required already to operate within the school system. So I think that education on this with your PTA and PTO people is the paramount part of that. And I know you've done training every year, but it's going to be mandatory, right? Because it's, a lot of people, I'm sure, they go with PTOs because if you're PTO, you don't have to send your dues anywhere. But I don't think people really realize the restrictions that are put on you as far as your financial accountability and getting to being tax exempt and all that if you're not running it through the school. So, y'all will get ahead of it with your. And I think that, we kind of hold their hand through this process rather than being punitive. So, really.
Yeah.
I mean, where would we be without these people that raise the money? Okay, I'm the only one discussing any other discussion?
We had the discussion of the last time, and nothing substantially changed, right?
Right, it's the same. Okay, if there's no more discussion, we'll vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, all in favor.
I recommend approval of the following contracts for services as attached.
Motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the contracts. Any discussion? If not, we'll vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All in favor.
All right, I recommend approval for the job descriptions for principal and school psychologist, psychometrist.
Motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Can you go over the principal
Yeah.
one again? Just
Sure will.
why we're doing it and what we're
Yeah.
doing?
You, go ahead, Ken. Yeah, I recommend it together, right? Is that? Okay.
Because that's how it is on the.
If you guys want me to recommend these separately, I can amend that.
The main part of the principal one is we were going from having an elementary standalone principal to a secondary standalone principal, just making it one uniform principal for both classifications.
The requirements for elementary and secondary principal weren't the same. I believe it was the high school principal required 3 successful years as an assistant principal, elementary didn't. And so it was became confusing on what they require. It wasn't good to have 2 different requirements, so this makes it one principal. We now have one principal job description.
K through,
Okay,
K through
any
12.
principal in our system, we have one,
oh, okay.
yes, one principal job description.
What all positions do we have that are considered administrative?
Assistant principals require administrative certification. If it's central office positions, you can have it as preferred or required. Guidance counselors don't require it, but many of our counselors have it. Many of our,
Well, when it says on the qualifications, minimum 1 year administrative experience, what positions do we?
Gotcha.
Yeah.
yeah, I would say, can you correct me if I'm wrong, assistant principal is what we would consider that.
Only, or is there any other roles in the school that would fall under that category?
So we have, some systems do a teacher on special assignment, and they may be working on their administrative degree. We would probably not consider that as an administrative position, because they didn't require, it's not listed as an administrative position. So there's some gray area on whether folks from outside our system will qualify. They'll put teachers in administrative roles.
You would have people here that work under your directors that would have an administrative degree that might choose to branch out into being a principal.
Are
That
we-
would count, I
yeah.
would think.
Our instructional coaches may have an administrative degree. We would not consider that an administrative position.
Experience. It wouldn't be considered, well, if there's minimum 1 year administrative experience, that wouldn't,
We would not consider that 1 year administrative experience.
So did we eliminate any qualifications or?
Yeah, I believe it was a secondary required 3 years of administrative experience, or the high school, is that correct? The high school, secondary. And so we decided 1 year, and I think we said 3 years preferred. So we kind of kept a little bit of both, a preference of 3, but minimum of 1 year.
So that was a change in the qualification. Any other one? Any other? change?
I think that was the main thing.
How about this?
Because what was happening, we were having assistant principals with 2 years of experience not applying for jobs because they thought that they had to have 3. Well, you would have to have 3 if you're applying for a secondary job, but you went for an elementary. So it was just confusing to our own folks. So we were like, we need to clean this up.
And the essential functions, they've changed?
It's, yeah, we,
Same for both positions. The only difference between the secondary and elementary was that qualification as far as the amount of time for administrative experience.
Gotcha.
Now we'll use one, no matter what the job is, whether it's elementary, middle, or high, we'll have one posting for principal, and these will be the minimum. Now, just because these are the minimum, that doesn't mean that that's the qualification for the selection for an interview. It may be that we have such a large pool that we look at only people that have 5 years of experience, whatever that, the pool is.
Right.
But at least they can apply with this, being this, they have to have these minimum in order to even apply.
because when we post a job, we post the job description with it. So so this is what will be posted with the job descriptions.
And then on the other one, what changed?
We added the word psychologist. Mrs. Stone brought that to me about a month or 2 ago, and she had said that the state now recognizes psychometrists and psychologists, and they call them school psychologists. And so this is actually to align so that school psychologists they realize they can apply for the job and they're eligible to be employed in this. And so this just kind of more aligns with what the state allows as far as certification. Is that correct, Mary?
Okay.
So our psychometrists who test our children, they're also considered to be psychology, no? Okay.
They can be psychometrists or school psychologists, but they are qualified to do the same thing, which is test on children.
Okay.
And many of our surrounding states no longer recognize psychometrists, so a lot of times you can have psychologists that are working, like we just hired one from Georgia, this year. And she says school psychologist because that's where they get certified. But they do the same thing in our district, the same pay scale, it's the same job description.
Anything else? All those in favor of approving these 2 job descriptions, please say aye.
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 All right, all in favor?
Okay. I recommend approval of the following personnel items as attached.
Motion?
Second.
Got a motion and a second to approve the personnel actions. Any discussion? If not, we'll vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All in favor.
All right, I recommend approval of the following supplemental contracts as submitted.
Motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the supplemental contracts. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 All in favor.
All right, we have some other business that may require some, an executive session because they discuss students, expulsions, and good name authority, good name and character.
And you also have a certification from me for legal updates.
It's in the other business.
All right, so at this time, I'll entertain a motion to go into executive session for pending litigation and also to consider expulsion.
Motion.
Second?
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 All right, all in favor. And when we come back, well,
There'll be a couple
there'll
of
be a
recommendations.
couple of recommendations on the things that we consider as far as students go, correct? So if you want to hang around, you're welcome.